I came up with a bunch of drills to get them to start moving faster. We also started working on body checking, even though it's not legal. Angling and, keeping your feet moving and getting position. Because I've noticed games are really quite physical, but they usually end up with 3 or 4 kids in a heap on top of the puck. And because they all knock each other, bump into each other and knock over. But I don't know, it's interesting. I haven't coached at this level for quite a while, and I've actually watched parts of 2 Bantam games, which is U14 boys, and there's very little body checking. I'm thinking, wow, I'm gonna have to go watch some more, some other teams to see if that's consistent. The play's good, but in my experience, when you get Bantams, because that's when it's now in the United States, it's now legal.
Yeah, same here.
Boy, they want a body check with total disregard of the puck sometimes, especially down below the goal line.
Well, I heard a couple of parents talking on the weekend, and their kids had just got into the same thing.
Yeah.
And they got like 3 injuries in the first game.
Oh, yeah.
It's just someone broke their wrist, and because they're just running around, like you said.
Well, and they're not preparing the kids for body checking at the level below. Like, coaches don't really work on it. So I have a couple of videos on body checking, introduction to body checking for U12s and the 14s, and I sent the video for our group to the parents. And I said, I want your sons or sons. We have 2 sets of twins on the team. I want them to watch it, but I want you to sit down and watch it with them to make sure that they watch it. And then we go to practice and we do those drills. And that's pretty, so that kind of elevates it, I think, to some degree. But they're scared.
Hal, can you share those? Huh? I'm sorry, Hal, can you share those videos?
Oh yeah, sure. I'll when I quit talking, what should I don't know, how do I do it? You want me to send them to Wally, or what do you want me to do? Or you, Tom?
You can send them right on the chat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
And I did these for USA Hockey a bunch of years ago. And they sit there. Of course, they don't use them anymore because they just don't do this kind of stuff, I guess. But I think it's pretty helpful.
Hal, I have to mention, I did the same thing you did when you did it for Hockey Canada.
Yeah.
And they have converted it into a checking clinic that all coaches have to take. And there's sort of a pyramid of checking, which has to do with contact confidence.
Yeah.
And then the idea of checking skills, skating skills, angling and whatnot.
Yep.
And then finally, they do get into body checking.
Yep.
So they look at the stick checks, they look at angling. It's really a great thing. The dilemma now in our time period, as the NHL demonstrates, there is no body checking anymore. To the degree that it was in our day, and it's not as dangerous in terms of affecting insurance rates, which happened in my day. But I find that, and I'm talking female hockey here, but I think it applies to your age group, male hockey.
Yeah.
And it has to do with compete confidence and getting comfortable with contact, and related to body checking. I don't like the term being used anymore. I used to say the term hitting, take it out of the vocabulary.
Right.
And now I'm saying even take out body checking, because body position to regain possession of the puck related to the body contact and use of your stick is critical. The game's changed so much. But back in the day, when there was body checking, even at earlier ages, I had got a call from an association, and it was the highest level bantam, and they wanted some work done on body checking. And the thing that got the biggest payoff for me was 3-on-3 cross ice scrimmage. But you had to finish the check. Now, this was funny. The players know each other, so there's a social camaraderie where you have to get them to be comfortable with making contact, and they had no problem. And they ended up chuckling each time somebody got knocked down, and they got comfortable with just running each other out there.
Yep.
And when I watched the game they played 3 days later, they played exceptionally well against another high-level bantam team. They were more comfortable with it because they had played with it in a cooperative, competitive fashion with their teammates. But there's tons of teaching progressions to that. And I just think getting comfortable with contact, the fastest or the biggest pay for your buck, to me, is
Sorry.
something like that, even at younger level. And it might be, it's worth experimenting with. Hell, let me know if you try it. And, you know, there's a line where you say, I want you to cheer when contact's made, and you can really cheer if they happen to knock the guy down, but don't be hitting from behind. And
to remove body checking from the P
shoulder.
level and introduce it
Sorry.
into the bantam level for the first time.
Yeah.
In this presentation,
Yeah,
Look
I
at that.
hear, I can hear it. How can you share your screen?
some video from the 2000.
Sorry, guys.
There's a share screen on the bottom. Can you click it and see if you can share your screen? Us old non-techies, we're getting, there it is. Now, if you click on it, does it appear? I don't think it, I saw the HTTPS, but no, I don't think you can.
While you're waiting for this, I'll just tell you a story about when Wally was running something in downtown Calgary, and we came up with this. We put together the body checking thing, I remember. And I went to Turku, Finland, and the Russian coach was coaching TPS, Yursinov, and he's a really good friend of my Finnish buddy. So I did the body checking that we put together in Calgary at this youth hockey thing. And then the Russian coach, he got me to do it with the pro team. So Anna Verta was out there, and Beku Koivu was about 18 years old. He was there, and so I did that body checking clinic with these pros, and I was amazed. Like I knew nothing about Finnish hockey then, so I skated onto the ice for the warm up, and I'm seeing these guys flying and throwing saucers across the ice that don't even flutter. I said, "Holy jeez, these guys are good," and so clinic with them, that was kind of neat.
Tom, I got to share a story. There's a German, Hans Kuhnackel. He's like a 6'5" German NHL player that was sort of head of the federation over there back in the day. At the time, there was a all German midget team in Calgary playing in a junior B league, which is a survival league of contact. And they were in it just to get familiar with body checking.
Oh,
And it was scary. And so we did a lot of the things Tom talked about, checking. And I can remember Eric came to the session to watch us practice, and he ended up watching one of the junior B games. And I said to him, I said, Eric, they'll be tough, but they might not be able to handle a puck anymore. It's a different game over there. But hell, I'm just running by the progressions. You know, really the biggest thing is stable balance, having a broad base, and just the coach pushing a beginning player to stand up, not get pushed over by the coach cooperatively. And that to me is huge. Now you can go player the same size, pushing side to side and see if they can push them over and see if they stabilize, lean, broaden their base. Then we go down the blue line, one on each side, elbows joined. This is a progression, bumping each other every 3 strides. And the next progression, they got to make sure they go both ways, both arms, both shoulders. Then they unlock the elbows and they're not in contact. Now they get to lean a little bit. And they might go around the boards at one end, 3 strides, and squeeze the boards, 3 sides and squeeze the boards. And those are the physicality kind of things that we did, making sure they go one direction then the other. And you've all heard about the gauntlet. I found it really works well. A power skating friend of mine, he stood the players they were not too far apart in terms of length or width, horizontally and vertically. It might have been 3 strides or maybe 2 stick lengths behind each other. And so they went on an angle to one body, and that body had to receive the shoulder contact. They took a couple strides to the next body. So it was right shoulder, left shoulder, right shoulder, left shoulder, trying to hit the stationary players down the gauntlet. And they get comfortable with that stuff. I just skipped all that stuff because, there's stages and you wonder, let's just see what they do with each other at Bantam already. They can skate. But I think at, U9, U11, they can do that cooperative stuff. I don't think I'd have them running each other cooperatively at that young an age. But those are pretty common ideas. It's just a matter of taking the time, given the library of stuff you have to cover, skating, puck control, puck handling, passing, and all of a sudden, checking. Wow. It's pretty overwhelming, but I think keeping it as simple as you can. I think they like contact. Tom, you did a drill, 1 puck, 3 players. I think that's a great drill. If the listeners, if you could describe it, Tom, I'd sure appreciate that one because there's contact, but the possession of the puck is the purpose of it.
So what we did is Wally had mentioned that my D does the cutbacks all the time, but my forwards, in the offensive zone, don't do much of that puck protection. So first we had a drill side to side where one player's in the corner protecting the puck and doing cutbacks while the other player just stick on the puck defensive skating. Then on the whistle, it's live. And the player's trying to go to the net, but the other corner, puck is shot in and 2 players do that to get them used to doing the cutbacks. Then we played a game of 1 versus 1 versus 1. So at the top of the circles, you dump the puck in the corner and 3 players go in and they're all trying to score against each other. So it's there's a lot of contact and, skate moves and it's a really good battling drill. And it's, we did that at each end. So I think it's pretty effective.
I have to share this one, Peter and Hal. Sean Bauer did it this week, Tom. He took both goal nets, put them behind the goal line facing each other, about wider than the width of the crease, sort of about as wide as that no pass zone, where you could control the puck. And they played 2 versus 2 with the goalies in the net below the goal line and maybe about 30 feet apart. And there's no space. And it's all along the boards behind the goal line. And it, I sort of wondered, well, what were they getting out of it? Well, they were getting contact. What could you teach better? I think pre-contact with the player getting run is so important. So if you lean into the guy who's body checking you and you actually physically impede his speed and protect the space, it was a really good game that way. But there's all kinds of little ideas that help. And Peter, have you had anything in your toolbox?
Yeah, well, talking about kind of a bit of a variation of that. I used to do that all the time when I was coaching at prep school, did it, and also in college. And what we would do is we would add that, I guess you'd call that a little extra bit of competition. We would have it as a forwards versus defenseman competition. Same exact thing as you're talking about, but it really upped the level of compete and drive to win because they were playing for this probably $7 plastic WWE belt that they just couldn't wait to, at the end of that practice for either the D to hang it in one of their stalls or the forward to hang it in one of theirs. So pretty much the same exact drill, but with that competition level in there, worked really well.
Yep. I think the biggest thing, we've all run practices, and I think even at higher levels where they just aren't into it. And the best thing you can go is 1 versus 1 competition. And I know one time I was coaching Tom, the team you coached, the women's team, a few former national players on it, and they were just lollygagging at the practice. So I decided just to have some 1 versus 1 short distance races and battles. And I used the blue line dot and the end zone dot as race markings. They had a starting point. They had to go to one dot, back to the other, stop facing the middle, and compete for the puck set in the middle to score. So they did stop and starts, tight turns, and transition skating. And they were battling and competing. And at least we got something out of them in terms of effort, stop and start skating, puck control, and battling. And it paid off. So, hell, I think the biggest thing of all is just those 1 versus 1 ideas, racing and competing, and free puck battling. Dave King used to do a drill with the national team that I've done with younger players. If you can picture this, 2 players, 2 stick lengths apart, bums against the boards, and they're 2 stick lengths apart, and you place a puck about 3 stick lengths away, exactly equidistant from each player. And now you've got them all paired up along the boards, but not yet. You just want to watch this first 1 versus 1 race on the coach's whistle to the puck. And what they will do is go straight to the puck. And that's when you teach, no, go to the lane, win the lane, and then get the puck and protect it and keep it. So it's a free puck race, gaining position, and then puck protection, small area skating, shielding kind of drill. But that was a progression we used. You increase the space to 4 stick lengths, 6 stick lengths, and the puck gets out near the dot line, and they battle. And Roger Nielsen did it one day when he was coaching Buffalo, and the winners rotated one way, and the losers the other, and it got quite competitive. He had a little $100 prize to the champion. So, but those are the little kind of things. There's that teaching element to feel confident on your skates. Make sure you're not getting your kid that's fully grown and physically mature against a little kid. Matchups where they aren't going to hurt each other. But hell, I've got to share this story. I had a midget team once, and I tried that deliberate body checking 3-on-3 cross ice. And I had a player who was too aggressive, and he just flattened guys, like literally no respect. And I sort of tested it. I didn't tell him to take a little heat off, and he didn't. And he almost hurt a guy, and I know I had to apologize to the father after, and I had to tone this guy down quite a bit. And he was one of those players, Tom, the cardinal rule of he took action penalties, but dangerous action penalties. In other words, he was the best body checker on the team, but the most dangerous. And he didn't know where the line was. And interestingly enough, he was a troubled boy. He had I believe, an alcoholic parent. Outstanding hockey player, but just, I think, internally disturbed, and he carried that violence onto the ice. And I use that rule, Tom, where I talked to you the first time about taking a bad penalty, and the second time you sit a shift, third time a period. And it's the first time I've ever had to bring the parents in, the dad, to talk about it. But it toned him down enough to get through the year. Not playing midget AAA, which is the highest level up here, but he quit hockey and went into roller hockey. And apparently he played on a national roller hockey team at some day. But I just wanted to share that story because, hell, at your age, do you find you've got some kids that are just too aggressive?
Well, last year we had one or two, but they were aggressive because that's what they wanted to hurt people. That one kid did, and he took 4 or 5 major penalties till we had had to start suspending him, and then the lawsuits all started, and it got pretty contentious for a few months. But he's finally out of hockey. But I will say I did put in the chat the Bantam video. Body contact. It's on YouTube. The Pee Wee one is also on YouTube. On the angling drill, one of the things I'm always really cognizant of, especially with these young players, is they start to, as contact starts to occur along the wall, the player along the wall has to be very careful to not get their arm up right on the edge of the dasher board. Because I had one get broken that way. And so that, he wasn't protecting himself properly on the wall. He didn't have his hip on the wall, had his arm up, and it hit right here on his arm and cracked a bone in there. So you have to be a little careful with it. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff you're talking about, Wally, is in that video, and some of it can be done off ice too, to get the kids used to bumping into each other. And so we'll do some of that. I also just sent you, Wally and the article from The Athletic about why USA Hockey has not mandated neck guards yet. And the bottom line is that there's no standards for neck guards, but they're working on it now, sort of like heck for helmets. Because a lot of the neck guards really don't. I mean, CCM has one. It really doesn't protect very much, but it makes the parents feel good. But and the suppliers have no, there's not enough supply in the system that if USA Hockey were to mandate them right now,